Macmillan Audio presents Who Could Ever Love You? A Family Memoir, written and read for you by Mary L. Trump. To Avery and E. Jean. When I consider the brief span of my life absorbed into the eternity which precedes and will succeed it, the small space I occupy, and which I see swallowed up in the infinite immensity of spaces of which I know nothing, and which know nothing of me, I take fright and am amazed to see myself here rather than there. There is no reason for me to be here rather than there, now rather than then. Blaise Pascal, Pensée. Author's note. This is a true story, though some names and details have been changed. Prologue, 2021. I exhaled as the needle slid into my veins. Ketamine flowing through my body felt like an act of desperation. It was an act of desperation. 4 years earlier, in 2017, I had checked myself into a facility in Tucson, Arizona, for intensive trauma treatment. Now, I was in trouble again, experiencing some of the same symptoms that had landed me there: dissociation, an inability to concentrate, and increasing social isolation. It was getting harder to leave my apartment, let alone get off the couch. Which was weird because by then, I was a public person. People saw me on television several times a week. A year earlier, I'd published a book that had launched me into the national conversation about my Uncle Donald. Everyone was a shut-in during the pandemic, so no one noticed that I was too. The problem was, by 2021, everyone else was going outside again, and I wasn't. Within 5 minutes of the ketamine entering my bloodstream, the world had expanded and I began to fall through it slowly and pleasantly. I felt lighter than I had in a very long time, almost euphoric. Anything seemed possible. I made connections in my mind. I made plans. I saw potential. I suddenly had an overwhelming desire to text. I started with close friends, then people I thought were my friends, but who turned out not to be. Then I texted people I didn't know particularly well, but with whom I still felt it was crucially important for me to share the fact that I was high. I am so high. And then I saw the coat hook. I'd recently read Mike Sowden's Everything is Amazing Substack newsletter about pareidolia, the human impulse to construct visual patterns that aren't really there. This led me to a Reddit post on the phenomenon that featured a picture of a metal coat hook under which had been written in Sharpie, "Drunk octopus wants to fight you." And there it was. Exactly the kind of oval, two-armed coat hook that is screwed to doors in doctors' offices all over the world. I needed to share this too. Because of the needle in my left arm, only my right hand was free, so it took a while to focus the camera on my phone and get a photograph that wasn't too blurry. I proceeded to text it to all the same people, noting that it was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. Slowly, though, things began to shift. I still felt light, almost invincible, but my vision was clearing, and everything was beginning to feel more solid. An hour had passed. The nurse came in to remove the needle and check my vitals. It would be another 30 minutes before I felt steady enough to go home. It was during that space that a thought came to me, as if carved in glass, so clear, so stark was it. I don't want to die. I texted that to everybody, too. I had met with a psychiatrist who ran the ketamine clinic, a mild man in his mid-70s who seemed beyond surprise, only once. Before
Sample complete. Ready to continue?